Do you want to upgrade your Super73 Z1 with a new controller and a new battery? That's coming right up. Hey everyone, my name is Rick Cordero. Welcome to RunPlayBack, where we help you with video and tech tips to lead a more efficient and affordable lifestyle. Let's be creative and save money at the same time. Today we're going to show you how to upgrade your Super73 Z1 with a brand new 48-volt battery and controller for more power, range, and efficiency. So let's get to it. All right, we got some new packages that just arrived. T-plugs to XT60 adapters. So this is a new throttle. It took forever for these things to arrive, like literally 1 month. So this is our new controller. So we'll have to figure out how to rig this to the motor wire. Okay, and then the Z1 obviously doesn't have a display, so this will be a very good upgrade. What's funny is the battery came in before the controller. You figure like a lithium-ion battery coming from China would take a lot longer. So we have the charger here, and this 48 volt, 20 amp hour lithium ion battery. So between this and the controller, we should have a higher efficiency, more range, higher top speed. Let's move on to the actual build. First things first, if you take the seat cover off the Z1, you're actually voiding the warranty. So if you don't want to lose your warranty, I suggest that you don't do this mod. These parts come from eBay. They come from a seller overseas. Now, some sellers have reliable items, some don't. So I can't really guarantee the integrity of these parts, but for the most part, people have been having good success with them. So I'll put all the links in the description so you guys could get the same parts if you want. So next we're going to measure everything out to make sure that all the aftermarket parts will fit into the Z1 enclosure. 7.5 inches by 2 3/4. Aftermarket battery is 9.5 inches by 2 3/4. The measurements for the stock controller, about 6 inches by 1 inch. And then the new controller is 5 by 1.5. So it's actually shorter, but wider. So let's remove the stock parts from the enclosure. First thing we want to do is disconnect the battery. Snip that zip tie right there. Dean's plug to the controller, so we'll disconnect that. This is the plug for the charging port. And then we'll disconnect the power port as well. So you have some foam on the side over here, and that comes out. And then we want to remove the controller. Use a flathead and just pop the grommet out like that. Comes right off. Okay, we'll take the controller out first. Okay, you just got to take out all 4 screws. All right, almost there. So this thing is actually called a strain relief bushing. And they make special pliers to remove these things, but I don't think we want to order special pliers, so we're just going to cut that. All right. Strain relief, stress relief bushing. You are a pain. I don't need this little block. I don't know what this is. Foam pads. We could take these out. So next I'm going to remove the charging port and the power port, since I won't be using them for now. Okay, take that off. There's a switch. Okay, it comes off, and charging port is out. Okay, so let's take a look at the two batteries. So on the 48 volt battery, you basically have two wires. You have the discharge wire, right? And then you have the charging wire. Now you have those on the stock battery as well. The discharge wire, and then you have the charging wire. This is actually for the on and off switch. Now we don't actually need that for this battery because the on and off will be controlled by the LCD screen that we install. You don't necessarily need an on and off switch. I'm going to eventually install one on here. I have one already ordered from Lunicycles, which is called a anti-spark switch. For the most part, we really don't want to mess with splicing these plugs because they are like high voltage and a lot of sparks will occur once you start messing with these. So I'm going to leave them as is. So the next thing we want to do is remove some of these tabs that line the enclosure. By doing that, this will give us the most room for installing the battery and the controller. So it's cutting pretty easily. The plastic is really thin. Okay, we'll do the other side. Okay, now this part is important. We're going to take a Dremel and really smooth out some of these jagged edges. We don't want anything sharp to be anywhere near the battery, right? We don't want to puncture anything, so we want to smooth this all out. Okay, next we're going to cut this middle fin right here so the battery can fit inside. So we have to trim this off completely. So next we're going to cut the motor cable from the stock controller. On the cable, you'll see where it's crimped over here. And basically this is where it hangs out from the enclosure. So you want to make sure that you have enough cable that'll reach from here to your new controller. So we'll do about 4 inches from this crimp line. Okay, next we want to strip the wire. So I have a variety of tools here. Okay. I opened up the motor wires a little bit more. Now the way I'm going to attach this are using these bullet connectors. So there's several ways you could just connect these wires to the controller, but I'm going to use these bullet connectors only because I have a bunch left over from my electric skateboard days. So if you decide to do it this way, you're going to need 3 bullet connectors, male and female, so 3 pairs. So if you want to do it my way, feel free. If you just want to tie them in directly and solder them directly, you could do that too. So first we'll just strip off the tips of the motor wire. Now we have our motor phase wires exposed. So now we're going to solder the male bullet connector to the motor wire. First thing you want to do before you start adding the bullet connector is to put your heat shrink over the wire. Basically just fill the bullet connector. So we got that on. So the heat shrink is a little big, but that's all I had for now. But let's do the rest. So now we have all the bullet connectors on the phase wires of the motor cable. Now we got to do the other side on the controller. We have to remove these connectors, these O connectors, and replace them with the female bullet connectors. And now we do the same thing that we did with the motor wire. You strip the tips off. The tips are stripped. Now let's add the bullet connectors. Okay, remember to add your heat shrink to the wires first. These guys. For the female connector, the heat shrink goes all the way to the tip. Okay, so the connectors are on all the wires. We'll just test them out, make sure they fit. So you want to match the colors, yellow from the controller, yellow to the motor wire. Good, that fits. Green to green. Good, and blue to blue. Okay, next we have to splice in these thin hall sensor wires right here off the motor cable into the controller, which is this 6-pin connector right here. And we just have to match the colors and splice them in. Since we don't have the connector for this, like another end, we're gonna have to do it one by one and just solder them together and put some heat shrink. So this is gonna be kind of tedious and a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. So first thing we want to do is strip the ends of all these wires, cut this connector off, and strip the ends of these wires as well. So on the controller we have 6 different colors. We have red, white, yellow, green, black, and blue. We have the same colors on the motor controller, except there's 2 other colors, which is purple and orange. From what I believe, I don't think this controller needs to be connected to the orange and purple wire. So we're just going to leave those sort of not connected to anything for now. Okay, before we start, you want to have the big piece of heat shrink that it should have came with, and you're going to wrap it around all of these hall sensor wires on the controller. And then on the first wire, or all the wires, you want to have a smaller piece of heat shrink. So we're going to do that one by one. Heat up the heat shrink. So we'll do that 5 more times. Okay, so we have all 6 wires soldered together and heat shrinked up. Now we have these 2 extra wires, this purple one and this orange one. So there's really nowhere else for this to go. So what we're going to do is just cut the ends off, and then we'll just put heat shrink so it doesn't short circuit or touch anything. Now we're going to take the big heat shrink on the hall sensor wires, and we're just going to cover all the smaller heat shrinks, and we'll heat that up. Now we're going to connect the motor phase wires here. What I like to do is actually wrap the middle piece where it connects with just some electrical tape. So you don't want these wires to touch each other. That could be really bad. It's really important that these connections are strong and that they don't come loose. Now to keep everything secure, we're just going to get a zip tie. We're going to zip tie the motor phase wires and the hall sensor wires. There. So this wire right here is the pedal assist wire, and I'm not actually going to put on pedal assist. Not really a feature I want to put on this bike. I kind of prefer having throttle only. If I change my mind and I want to install the pedal assist, it'll be pretty easy to do that, but for this video, I'm just going to leave this off for now. I'm going to make the battery removable from the enclosure because I don't actually put my bike in a garage. I have it outside, so I want to make sure that I can take the battery indoors. It's also good to keep it in an indoor temperature so the battery will last longer. I plugged up these holes here where the power button and the charging port are with rubber grommets. Now I did that because I don't actually have my power button kill switch yet, but I don't need it because I could use the LCD to power on. And as far as the charging port, I'm not going to keep it connected to the enclosure because, as I said, I'm going to be removing the battery. You could get these rubber grommets at a hardware store. See right there. Just going to hot glue the grommets in so they stay. One issue with the enclosure is that the hole here where the throttle and the LCD screen will be coming out of is a little too small for the connector on the LCD screen. Alright, so we're just going to take a file and just, let's make it a little bit bigger just for the connector to fit through. Okay, we got it through. Alright, now we want to take the throttle and we're going to run it through the enclosure as well. And then you could just use one of these rubber grommets to put in the hole here for these wires. Alright, now let's see if the battery fits in the enclosure. And that is a perfect fit. Now it butts up right at the edge of these fins, so you don't want to cut anything further past this middle piece right here. So keep all these fins intact because it's going to butt up right against it. Now you have a little gap here, and the stock enclosure should come with this like little rubber stop here. So what we're going to do is put some double stick tape or hot glue or something, and we're going to put it back here to keep it flush. So that's pretty tight. Now, like I said, I'm going to make this battery removable, so I'm going to put some Velcro underneath here, another piece on the bottom here. Okay, we're going to put the Velcro on. Okay, we're going to add some double stick tape on this rubber block and just stick it right on the back. Now we're going to install the controller. The only things you'll need here are some tape. I'm using Gorilla Tape, double stick tape, these screws. These are 832 by 3/4 inch. I have a washer and a nut to go with it as well. First, we want to put some Gorilla Tape over here to cover the space that will be open. You just want to cover this little gap here. Just make it flush. Like that. We want to line up these two holes with the two holes right here on the enclosure and center it up as best as you can. Gently drop it in and push down. You're going to go in the bottom and put the nut right underneath. Just hand tighten it until you get the nut locked in. Okay, so now that is nice and tight on there. It's not going anywhere. So we'll run it through. I actually put a grommet, another rubber grommet right here. That's going to go into this hole. Okay. Okay, so I pinched the wire with some other kind of smaller rubber grommets just to get it tight in here. And then just to secure it, we'll throw some hot glue like so. Now if you remember, we have this leftover foam from the old controller. We could stuff that in here. I mean, it's not going anywhere, but it's good to have just in case. And then we want to just wrap up any cords that we're not using right now. Wrap them up right up against the motor wire. That way it doesn't move around and potentially mess anything up. So I've run the display and the throttle wires up into the enclosure, and I just put rubber bands around them because the cords are really long. So until we put on the bike, we want to know exactly how much wire we need, and then we'll take the the extra wires and we'll just bunch them up and stick them over here. We're going to throw some hot glue, not obviously not on the wires because we want to be able to pull it through, but just around it so the grommet doesn't move around. Okay, now we're going to put the battery in. I just added more Velcro on both sides, just why not? Charging port is here. I just covered it. I'm going to be charging this at home. I won't be charging it inside of the enclosure. So I'm just going to put it right here. And then this is where you would connect the battery. Okay, so we connected the battery to the controller. Now we're going to program the controller. So the first one is the speed limiter. So you can actually set how fast you can go. We're going to put it on the max speed. Next is the diameter of the wheel. We have a 40 by 20 inch, so we'll bring it down to 20 inches for the wheel. The unit of measurement, we'll put it at 3, which is miles per hour and Fahrenheit. P1 will be set at 100. P2 will be 6. P3 we'll set it at 0. P4 is 0. P5 we'll set that to 15. C1, which is pedal assist, which I don't have, we'll set it at 0. So any of the sections that have pedal assist, I chose not to enable because I didn't install a pedal assist. So moving on, C2, 0. C3, 0. C4, 0. C5, 10. C6, which is the brightness level of the screen, we'll keep it at 3. C7, 0. C8, 1. C9, 0. C10, no. C11, 0. C12, 4. C13, 0. C14, 2. L1, 0. L2, 0. L3, 1. And L4, 5. We'll just leave those like that. One thing that I noticed was that the throttle wasn't working. So I checked the connections, and the negative wire was on the wrong end. So it wasn't connecting. So what you could do is take the pins out and switch it so that positive red, black, black, and then the green and the blue should match up. And then you'll know that the throttle is working when you see the throttle sign light up there. Next, we're going to remove the throttle from the handlebars. Okay, so you unscrew this and remove the throttle. Okay, we're going to put the enclosure in, the frame. Want to drop these through here. And now we have to add the throttle and the LCD screen. Just throw our brakes on. We installed the new throttle, which I like. I actually like this better than the stock throttle because it's a little bit smaller and you could put it closer to the handlebar. And it also has the screen, the display right there. So that's pretty cool. You can see the temperature, the ambient temperature, and then the motor temperature, all kinds of stuff you could program. We made sure to run the wire and make it real tight against the frame. We don't want a lot of slack to hang around outside of the frame. And then in here, you'll see that we bunched up and zip tied all the wires, the throttle wire and the display wire. So we made it nice and neat. You want everything mounted like really strong because the bike will be vibrating and bouncing around. You don't want anything to like short circuit. So this was long enough for one video. The next video we'll actually do a test ride for performance and stuff like that. But honestly, I'm really happy about how everything fit together, especially the battery. I mean, the battery is like just the perfect size. So you still have this really nice stealthy look. Shout out to Chloe for really helping put this bike together. I think it's really cool, something you could do with the family. And I could say right now, this is pretty much as custom made as I like it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Big shout out to Danielle Kwong and Kara Cold for helping me with this build. These women have some of the best Super 73 Z1s out. You know, they have really awesome builds. I'll put a link in the description for their Instagrams if you want to see some of the modifications they've done. If you want to dive into more video and tech tips, click the links on the side and remember to like and subscribe so I can help you find tech deals to fit your lifestyle. I'll see you guys in the next video.